get right into it. Yeah, so I want to start this question. Basically, everybody in this room is either selling AI, building AI, or funding also AI. We also have quite some VCs here today. And in one sentence, maybe starting with Max, where is the real value actually landing these days when it comes to AI for you, for example, at Kombo?
I think, can you hear me? Yeah, I think great. I think for us it's like, in revenue specifically, or?
For you as a CRO, yeah, from your perspective.
I think research. Like I think we probably see the biggest uplift in like productivity for like OBDR team. So we're like very heavy kind of like outbound focused. We enterprise focused as well. So average kind of like deal size is around like 70 grand for Kombo, right? So we heavily rely on like qualified prospecting. We don't have nimble motion. We have 80% of our revenue comes from outbound, and I think for us it's like landing with a strong point of view to like a very technical buyer that tells them kind of like why they should procure our technology, and I think that's reading typically 401ks, like that's essentially reading a ton of data online, and agents are like great for that. So I think that's kind of like the main.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a great answer. And how about you, Hans Christian? Is it Hans or Hans Christian maybe?
Hans Christian.
Hans Christian. Okay.
So I guess depends on the stage of the customer journey. So we have a lot of initial research where we have basically used AI heavily or leveraged it to clean up our entire data structure, because bookingkit is already 12 years old, so therefore there's a lot of just scrap, or we could also say legacy, and there's no way to clean this up as a human, so it's just impossible. And then I think AI did an amazing job in helping us to even get somehow this data again manageable. And then now I would say, based on that much cleaner and more healthy data, it's of course possible then to scale outreach much better. It's a mix of research and the outbound first contact.
Okay, interesting. Basically similar answer to Max, but you also use it for like personalized outbound, I guess I understand. And Walter, I think you have a bit of a different perspective maybe, like where is the real value actually landing for you when it comes to kind of like AI, building AI, funding AI, or selling AI, since you are like background is a bit different. These both, by the way, CROs. You are not a CRO, you are like an AI studio. So I guess you have a bit of a different question.
Yes, of course it's a little different my angle, because I work with clients that are actually very big, no scale ups or no startups. So in my case, I would say it's the biggest value we see is in around the generation of code. It's code generation, testing, QA. The acceleration of engineering via generative AI. So here we see the biggest ROI and the biggest impact. Not always realized yet. It's very early, but the changes that could happen are immense. So we have certain clients that are kind of pioneers. They decided to move on and to try things, and the results are really amazing. So I will focus 100%. I will put my chips on code generation.
Code generation. Okay, good. Yeah. So then I would like to ask a specific question to Max also. I mean, Max, you raised 30 million and you went from the seed round to the Series A very fast. I would say it's a YC startup. What changed about how you are selling once your name actually got bigger? You went basically from startup mode to like a 30 million raised Series A startup or scale up. How did that change of how you are selling, and maybe also in terms of your GTM motion?
I don't think it changed at all. I think maybe the only thing that changed is that we don't have to work as hard to win certain deals because we have a bigger brand, but I think otherwise it didn't change. I don't know, I think like to give one specific example, I was running a deal review with one of our E's, and I think we run it very poorly, but we still won it. I was like, okay, this was just luck, and maybe us having a better brand, but this just didn't happen like 2 years ago.
Okay, honest answer, I like that. And then I come to Hans Christian. bookingkit rebuilt around AI. And when you rebuild, many things also break, right? What actually did break internally when you rebuilt bookingkit internally around AI that you actually didn't expect to break?
So I guess there's also a lot about our product development that broke, and also parts of the software, but I feel developing with AI, either in product or in go-to-market, is basically failing forward, and in my view, really the pure definition, because there's no exact outcome that you can predict. So therefore, I think failing or stuff breaking is not the exception, it's the rule. And I think for me, the thing that was most difficult or maybe most surprising is how long it took, or it still takes, the many individual contributors to adapt to this new reality. So therefore, for them, it's, I think, like I have been developing coding a little bit myself, so and I have an idea of how a probabilistic model works. But I think for many people, it's just crazy that somehow we have set up the system, and then next day it produces something unexpected. And what does it mean now for us, right? So maybe this entire AI thing is just a big fail. And I think to make people understand that no, this is actually an expected outcome, and we need to establish very strong feedback loops to incorporate the learnings and iterate again. And it's not just about one iteration, two iterations, it's about constant iteration. I think this is the part, so the human part basically is the part that surprised me most, that it took so long.
So you're saying the human part is the one that breaks when it comes to AI?
Then where it broke my expectation basically.
Oh.
Yeah, so because I would have expected people to adapt faster to this reality.
Okay, so process adjustment or adaptation is the thing that breaks when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
It's too fast for human to basically adapt to it.
And it's very different
like
from,
bookingkit.
and it's very different from what they were used to, yeah. Exactly.
Oh, okay, that's actually an interesting answer. I think that's also something we hear maybe many times. Adoption of new tools and procedures. We all need to get used to that, I guess. We are human beings in the end. Maybe sometimes we're a bit slow in we get used to things. Yeah, then I go to Walter. I have also a question for you. What's maybe when you're doing, like, working also a lot on this kind of code generation with AI. What is maybe one of the biggest red flags that you are seeing around engineering setup when you're actually doing the diligence part? What is one of the biggest red flags that you are currently seeing there? I mean, you talked about code generation with AI, so.
Yes, very interesting. In our engagements, we have, of course, the first stage is a diagnosis, right? So we get in, it's very aggressive. We look at everything: people, code base, processes, documentation, and we have a scale like 1 to 5. Like 1 is anti-AI, and 5 is super AI. Mm-hmm. And what we see is that most of the industry that is not startup or scale up is between U1 and 1.5, something like that. Essentially pre-AI. So one thing we see is that people usually is surprised by this. They say, oh no, but we are good because we did some trainings and we have cloud code licenses and the things. So that doesn't work, especially in big organizations. Mm-hmm. You need something completely different. You need actually, we call it completeness of vision. So you need to actually have the whole company, the whole process ready for AI. It's not about isolated parts. So usually we get into a client and we see this disconnection between reality, let's say, and what they think it's already valuable. Some people react when they see the results, react positively, and they say, okay, let's fix it. Let's understand why. Show me what's the best way to fix this. But of course, other people say, okay, no, explain me, I don't agree with this, etc. So I think this happens. There's a very passionate debate usually because it's very early. But I'm convinced that in 6 months it's going to be clear that just random upskilling, isolated AI champions, and giving away cloud code licenses, it's just a waste of money.
Okay, interesting standpoint there from you. I think that's what most companies do right now. By enterprise, throw money at it, burn tokens, and make it happen somehow, right? I think that's kind of most of the companies' AI plan these days. As I said, we also burned quite some tokens recently. Yeah, so I have another question there for Max. For each one, I have one more question, and then I would like to go a bit of a discussion. Max, what do enterprise buyers nowadays actually ask about AI that they didn't ask 1 year ago? Did their requests change? How they see it? How they ask you about your product? Are they more demanding, less demanding? And just how did the sales process change with people just saying, seeing there's like cloud code and basically, yeah, just my question. How did it change or did it change? Or you say again, nothing changed.
Yeah, I thought about, because I think my answer before was like not very insightful. I mean, maybe insightful, but like maybe not what you expected. I think
no insightful.
On the fundraise, I think like I think what enabled the fundraise is essentially that we have now 3 engineers that are kind of forward deployed engineers. And what this means, I mean, I struggled with the term a bit because I would never understand what this actually means, and people would have very different answers. It's just like custom building stuff that you can sell to your customers that enables you to have high win rates, right? I think for us, having more money, it just enabled us to have magically high win rates because we were just like custom built for the enterprise. And I think one interesting insight that we found quite a bit is like everybody can just like ship 10x more code now, right? So like the cost of building new features is relatively low for like at least startups, right? So what we found quite a bit is that the argument of like, hey, our product is better because of X, Y, Z, and like small product inventors, people would just like build it. Like in certainty, like I hear it like so often in sales process where people are just like, cool, like Kombo, like, you know, we think you have a strong product differentiation and we sell like API service, right? So it's like easier to ship new product, I guess, than if you build like actual user interfaces. But our competitors would just like ship stuff that they wouldn't do before. So that's actually like a change of behavior also in the sales process. It was kind of like a learning because we would also do that, right? Where in the past, engineering capacity was more of an issue. And I think for us, it shifted because one, I think we just raised a shit ton of money, which enables us to hire more engineers. But also on the other hand, like our engineers are so much more productive and just like ship so much more stuff, which enables sales to just like sell more like adjacent stuff. And I mean, we call it forward deployed engineers, so it's essentially just like people that sell stuff slightly outside of your product focus, right? To that question, I think what changed for the enterprise, I mean, we only went up market like last year, right? I mean, we're also not in scale bookingkit. I mean, Kombo does around like 20 million in ARR, so we're not that huge yet. And we just started selling up market like last year. I think what I found quite interesting is that you see these hype cycles influencing people, right? So our main market is the USA, and you know, last year everybody was talking about MCP and how does Kombo have MCP and stuff. And like, I say software engineering, like I'm actually not the sales person, right? And you would go into these like enterprise buying conversations and you would have somebody that's like super high level that actually has no fucking clue what they're talking about. They ask you about MCP and you can't just tell them that they're have no clue what they're talking about. You need to meet them. So like, oh yeah, you have such a smart strategy and like this is also great, but technically what they said didn't make any sense, right? They just heard it in the all-in podcast or like somewhere that like everybody needs to have MCPs now, but for like product it just didn't conceptually make any sense, right? So I think there as like an organization, it's just all about like, I guess, owning the process and like telling people to a degree what they want to hear, but also stepping in and like proving that you actually know what you're talking about and educating them on what they should be doing, right? Like for Kombo, for example, we work with a lot of like BPOs that we sell infrastructure to, right? And they typically have no fucking clue what they want to do. They just know that they want to increase their stock price and they don't want to get outcompeted by incumbents, and then like not incumbents but like startups, right? So we try to educate them what they should be doing because we work with like all of the small startups, right? And that for us is driving a lot of revenue because we work, for example, in recruitment tech with like Juicebox, which like, is also a German founder, the NSF, and they raise a ton of money for like sourcing agents, right? So they directly compete with like Heimes, Manpower, all these companies, and they're all like they're very anxious about this, right? So this is a great opportunity for us to tell them, hey, we work with these guys, we can tell you exactly how they're building their product, we can help you to build this infrastructure, which is working very well, right? Like this is kind of like something that works well for us selling, I guess, into the enterprise.
So would you say your way of selling changed a bit towards like you do kind of partly also consulting work?
Oh yeah, mainly, right? I think that's yeah. I think we sell an outcome, not a feature, right? If you go into the enterprise, we sell people kind of like change and not like, hey, this is our product.
That's actually very interesting. That was a cool answer. Thanks so much. Then I have a question for Hans Christian. Where is actually the line for you AI helping your sales team, and also maybe AI replacing part of it? Since you're a CEO of bookingkit, maybe you do to replace, I guess, some of the tasks. Which
yeah. So in the old world, we had because our customers are often not even registered companies, so therefore we were struggling a bit with data acquisition to have a full understanding of the market. And we used to have a team of 4 people who were just doing the entire day data research online and collecting companies and feeding the CRM, and this team is gone, so this is now replaced. And I would say it's of course much more scalable because we cannot just research now with the resource, we can also continuously take our entire take our entire data stack and just refresh it every 2 years, right, on a rolling basis. I think something that would have never been possible before. And then when it comes to outreach, so we don't have SDRs anymore. We used to have it, and let's say I would still say I'm frequently discussing this with other CROs. So I think there's still a strong faction in the scene that says no, you need SDRs. But I would say at least our internal goal is we push it as far as possible, and yeah. So let's see where it's going.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, I saw the other day this kind of meme where it's like live before, and then there was this Twitter post of Sam Altman where it's like we launched today OpenAI, go ahead and chat a bit with it, and life was kind of peaceful and nice. And then after this post, the world is on fire, everything is like to be optimized, every process to be optimized with somehow AI agents. I thought that was actually very funny, because it's a bit true. I mean, I think we all talk a bit about like is AI replacing or enhancing. In the end, I think we work ever more than we have ever worked before. They think we don't work less. I think we work more. Everybody of us, I feel like it's a bit like that. So I think that's an interesting trend. Just wanted to answer. It's a bit my own opinion to that. I have also then another question to Walter. You do a lot of like look into these orgs, or it's a bigger orgs when it comes to AI transformation. Is there something that you didn't expect to see and that you did actually see?
Okay, there's something that happens in the kind of clients I'm dealing with that usually in the first meeting, the first call, they don't have the right ambition, right? So it's kind of low. They don't know what's possible, and they don't know what they don't know. We're talking about legacy organizations, 200, 300 engineers, very, very industrialized, traditional software engineering. We have, one team that is doing the technical specifications, completely isolated from the developers, completely isolated from the QA, etc. So the first impression is not very positive, because when we get there and they say, yeah, we want some upskilling here and there, we would like to increase 10, 20% the efficiency here and there, these are the numbers I have in my head, I read something online on LinkedIn, etc. And then we say, okay, wait a minute, let me show you something. And what we did is actually we prepared a document, we call it the non plus ultra. Non plus ultra is it's just a document, a white paper, that describes the most ambitious and aggressive way of building software today that is possible, right? Let's say the paradigm is from intent to deployment, right? When you have not a developer anymore, when you have a product engineer that manages the whole pipeline, etc. It's like a dream, right? Some organizations are doing it, especially smaller ones that they're working like this. But if you go to a legacy company with hundreds of engineers that are 56 years old, this is crazy. So we shared this document, and at the beginning we were kind of afraid, because we thought they're going to say we're crazy, and then they're going to say, okay, get out. But the surprise was actually that everybody loved it, big time. And I think the learning here is that people are eager to have ambition, but sometimes they don't have the tools, or they don't have the knowledge, or they don't have the proper framework. So this is something very surprising, and let me close with a nice anecdote. We get into a sales meeting, saying, hello, I'm Walter, I'm this and that, the introductions, and the CEO of the company we were visiting said, yeah, guys, I wanted to talk to you because I read this amazing piece that somebody wrote. It's called Non Plus Ultra. So it's like, they didn't know it was ours. So this confirmed this, and now I'm very careful with this, and I try to, let's say, give everybody the opportunity to be very ambitious. So what we do at the beginning is we show what's possible. We do a very, very aggressive demo, and we get them excited about what's possible.
Okay, I understand. So basically your answer to this question is that what is surprising is that you think they are actually a bit like not so willing to do, but then they actually are really like hyped and really down to go, even though they're often like from the first sight maybe don't appear like this kind of persona. Cool, yes. And I have then just want to throw in like a question that it should spark a bit of a discussion between you. I ask you all individual questions. I have like a bit of a spicy question, I think. Just into the round, whose job disappears first, AEs or engineers? And if it goes the way, yeah, what do you think? Which way does it go? AEs first or engineers first? Who's first to be replaced by AI? It's a bit of a spicy question. There's no true correct answer, but I just throw it into the round.
I don't think engineers. I think like the bad engineers and bad AEs. I think in general. I think for our motion, I mean, we sell into the enterprise and we sell at very like comparatively large ticket sizes. I believe the human component of that is very important. I think if you're looking at products that sell for like $200 a month, like 2K a month ACV, or like a year ACV or something like that, I don't know why. I don't know if I buy like marketing software. I buy like some local shop software that helps me automate my Google reviews. Why would I ever talk to sales if it's like $200 a month and the salesperson isn't even good, right? Like I think it depends on the complexity of the sell. But I think my answer would probably be sales, but it depends on the motion. Like I think in SMB, probably the time or like the ACV range when you actually want to hire salespeople goes up further. I think right now it's, I don't know, 10K a year or something. I mean, there's different benchmarks, but I think it probably will go further up. I think that would be my take. So sales, but like a portion of it.
Okay, let me go now. So I think that there's going to be first a stage where we have certain transitions, because when you accelerate the product creation, actually, then you need more input, then you need more ideas, more products, right? So I think what we see in our projects is, we call it the shift left. So engineers are less engineers and they move into product, and the whole product column is now talking more with the clients. I think the question is going to be about who can adapt, who wants to adapt, and then we will see who gets, let's say, reduced headcount. But of course, I think the flow is away from engineering to the left.
It's your turn. It's not my turn, you know. I'm just the guy who hosts this thing.
Because basically those guys have already said everything, I will give it a different angle. So I recently sat down with a couple of people and discussed with them the challenge for young people entering the job market who are super concerned. So I think my first answer to this question would be...
Was it your kids?
No, it was, but it was maybe like, as I'm a bit older, so therefore it was younger people in a similar role. And I was a bit surprised because I would have expected, actually when AI came up and became really strong and really accessible, I actually thought it will level the experience of people. So because if you have all the knowledge available at your fingertips, then why does it really matter if you're already in the market for 20 years or 30 years? But interestingly, right now, the conversation is completely the opposite. Mm-hmm. It's said that the people who have the most experience are actually the ones who are really benefiting from AI, because of a lot of the donkey and simple stuff gets a lot easier for them, a lot more accessible, while the actual experience that they have is a lot harder to replace with generic AI knowledge. And therefore, I think the interesting part would be, how do we then enable people? Like, ultimately, people who are entering the job market now will be the ones that would fill the roles later, right? So how do we enable them if they don't go through the stages that we had 10 years ago in order to learn, right? How will someone become a great AE without having been an SDR for 2 years? Because maybe there's no SDR role anymore, or the junior AE role. So I think this is in my opinion, the big question.
Yeah. I can only talk from startup experiences. I've never had a real job and always just had to start my own companies and studied at code, where it's like very much project-based learning, so I can't talk about like bigger corporations. I think for Kombo, like we hire a ton of engineers. All of engineers are product engineers actually, so we try to have no product managers at all. in the company and hire for like very, very customer-facing engineers who can like ship full projects essentially. I do see the point on the BDRs because like I think a lot of friends of mine went to like prestigious business schools and all of that, and like most have very hard time finding jobs right now, and we hire extremely excellent people, like people way smarter than me for like BDR roles, which is crazy. Because we hire a lot, there's not so many open roles, but the people caliber we find for like BDR roles for Kombo is like insane. Like it's really crazy. I think we also pay relatively high for E roles, so it's like maybe we're also just good selling this role, maybe. But I was actually surprised by the caliber we find for BDR roles, which might be related to the job market being kind of like tough. So yeah, I think it's just kind of like my experience. But I also think BDR roles at Kombo are great, but I think
Unbiased opinion, I guess. Okay, that's was an interesting conversation. I like that. I have one last question. Oh, the microphone. One last question I would like to throw into the round before we can actually close and enjoy some nice rooftop action and some pizza, I guess, and some drinks. We had like a half an hour conversation now, I think, so that's kind of the time frame that we set before. Also, we have like a few questions, and my last question just to the round and very short. One future prediction of you for the next 12 months, like just if you can give like one short answer to that. For example, crazy that like what happened just if you think 1 year back from now to now, what actually changed. I think the market is crazy fast paced, so I feel like it's even hard to predict what the future brings. So I'm curious to hear what you think when we sit here in next year, exactly at the same point. How did the world change in terms of this, and what actually is like the state of the art like?
I can go first. I think a sentence like "everything's possible" can be quite uplifting and it can be quite frightening. And I think everything's possible in the next 12 months. But I will answer with the most likely scenario that I see, and that is. So I think we have different phases that we're going through with the AI innovation cycle. And the first one we all remember, right? This was when OpenAI rolled out ChatGPT, I don't know, 3 or so, or 2. And then everybody was like, oh, let's play around here, right? And then, so this thing is already gone. And then came the next wave where it actually started to gain traction within organizations. So, oh, we can actually do applications with this, or like there's a real value to this in an organization. I think this part is also already fading out, and we are now entering a next phase, and that's really definitely a building phase that can be for coding. So real, like, this is not the, oh, let's experiment, let's find out. This is just now the huge push in the innovation cycle where really there's a huge productivity boost. But I think the next thing that is happening now is everybody is building at the same time. People in GTM are building, the engineers are building, everybody is building everywhere. Even the management is building in many companies. I'm building myself and I really love it, but it's not what the organization is actually prepared that just everybody is shipping. And I think it's a bit like in 20 years ago when just people were coding and nobody was taking care of, is the code documented? Is there common quality in the code? Do we even speak the same language in this company? I think in the next 12 months, we will have to learn, and the organizations will have to learn how to organize all that shipping in a consistent way. So, for example, the simple thing is, for example, for bookingkit, should everybody have their individual who is bookingkit identity in their LLM? Probably not. It's probably a bad idea if there are as many different bookingkits out there as their employees. Yeah, so from a company identity. Of course, we can now centralize everything, but then, of course, if everybody has access to that central knowledge from where the LLMs for everybody are being fed, then it means no data is private anymore. So, because then, for example, let's say the manager has the salary negotiation with their direct report in the LLM common knowledge, basically in the common knowledge files, right? So therefore, the companies are not ready yet to either, like at the moment it's completely siloed, everybody is their own team, like we used to complain about sales and marketing being silos, now every employee is a silo. But we're also not ready to shift this all into one big pool. And I think this is something that, in my view, this would be my prediction for the next 12 months. Companies have to learn how to organize that, all that shipping and all that duplicate information that we're creating at the moment.
I don't have enough knowledge on Frontier AI to like give a high-level take. I think I can try to give a take on our revenue team. I think like what is already kind of like in everybody's mouth is like go-to-market engineers. I think what we'll see, or what we'll probably even hire for, is some sort of like a product manager for revenue. Why? Because we built like so many V1s of like OIEs don't do kind of like deal reviews anymore themselves. They just have like agents that like they might pick for them, and then they just present it to somebody. We build like so many tools. We build like a support agent that answers kind of like all the technical questions that you can't answer for like small enough deals. We can't bring a solutions engineer to a call, and they get it in their call, kind of like technical questions answered for like more junior salespeople. Like we build like so many internal products that like some of them just gain super fast adoption, and then we'll use it and yada yada. But I think people build so many V1s and like then they never improve that like we hiring for like we call it go-to-market engineering, and I think there's a ton of companies hiring for this, but I think this will be more and more important, which essentially is just like a more technical RevOps person that understands data deeply, that understands technical architecture, process flows. Like I think RevOps will be way more technical, and we might have people calling this like revenue product manager or some bullshit like that. I don't know. Like that's something we'll probably hire for.
So you say a new role will evolve, which is RevOps product manager. I think that role doesn't exist yet. But
No, but I think I call it go-to-market engineering, right? I think that's what this term is called, right?
Yeah, good. Maybe 1 year from now, your prediction for this year, what's going to take it, what's going to work look like? Are we still alive, you know?
Very interesting. I think there's a lot of things I can mention, technical things, etc. But I think, for example, that in the boring side of things, there's a good chance that, for example, in general, inference is going to go down in cost drastically. We will have a nice, very funny war of models, open source, not open source, Chinese, not Chinese, etc. And that will change the landscape drastically, I think. But I think that's boring. I think what's interesting is that my impression is that today, AI and organizations are kind of in constant friction. It's like we're trying to put, it's like we found the internal combustion engine and we're putting on top of a horse. So I think that what's going to happen is that in 1 year we will see new things